Commissioner, let's roll.
Hey, whoa. You're not Batman. I'm Batman. Wait a minute.
Who's this guy?
I'm Batman. That's the guy with the... He just gets all gravelly. You watch your tone.
You guys are all the worst.
You watch your tone.
I have the most money. I have the Superman. I have the Gal Gadots. What do you have?
We all have
I have
money.
a boat. I have a helicopter.
He's got no money. He's got millions. We've got billions. He's not.
That's true. Yeah, millionaire Bruce Wayne.
My Lex Luthor invented Facebook. What did yours do? Nothing.
I didn't fight Lex Luthor. I fought Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he's a sissy.
I fought a clown.
Ra's al Ghul had Bane do
Have you
everything
ever
for
had
him.
to get rid of a bomb?
Yes. But did it go pow? No, it didn't. Mine
No,
did.
well, eventually. Not in my underwear. This guy. Yeah, this guy with the boy wonder.
Dude, they didn't
Boy
even ask us to be in this.
briefs. Exactly. Wonder what's going on there.
Hello and welcome to the Nerd Card. I'm Phil.
I'm Chuck.
And today, man, I've been waiting for this day.
You have been.
We are talking Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, no, we're going to hit that Batman. We're going to hit all of them.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. We decided, see, Batman's such a large subject
Been around for a little while.
that we decided that we're going to kind of segment it
Yeah.
a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off just taking a look at the live action origins of Batman.
Yep. The 4 incarnations.
Yes, the 4. So we should specify that as well because there are 2 Batmen
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll allow it.
that we will not be including in this list.
Insightful. Naive, but insightful.
And
Right.
that'll be Val Kilmer's Batman
Agreed.
and George Clooney's Batman.
Yeah, because
Now-
they're just continuations of Tim Burton's Batman.
Exactly.
Also, they're terrible. So,
Well, there is that.
but yes, they are continuations of the Burton Batman. There are actual similarities. There is story continuity within that. So we'll be just taking a look
We can
at
always talk how Joel Schumacher did Tim Burton another day. We don't have to do that today.
and we're gonna. This will not be the only time we visit Batman.
Well,
but
no. I mean, if it's a show about nerd stuff.
Exactly. It's
the
the
only time.
Batman origins. And we're doing all of this, of course, because we're getting another Batman origin story.
Yeah.
Coming up real soon here, March 4th, we get The Batman starring Robert Pattinson.
Absolutely.
And everything I've seen of it looks good, man.
It looks
I'm really
really
excited
good.
about
and
it.
hopefully it looks like it's Batman Year One kind of
It does.
based.
It really does.
So I'm hoping that's what it is, and it looks really good. So, I'm not gonna doubt Robert Pattinson. I've done that before with actors, and it didn't turn out.
Sure.
I've said before, I didn't go see The Dark Knight in the theater because Heath Ledger was the Joker, and I thought it was ridiculous. Well, it turns out he's the best Joker ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm the dummy,
Well,
and I'm not gonna be the dummy again this time.
exactly. And we can get this on record right now. The Dark Knight's the best live action Batman movie ever created.
100%. Although we're not gonna really talk about.
We're
it
not
today.
going to talk about it in this video because that's not what we're covering. But of course, Batman goes so far back. He's got so much history. And I mean, he started with Detective Comics number 27
Yep.
in 1939.
That was so before my parents were born.
Yeah, dude's been around a minute.
Yeah,
For
he
sure.
ain't young anymore.
Right, created by 2 people: the artist Bob Kane,
Yeah, Bob Kane.
and the writer Bill Finger.
Yeah,
Actually created Batman and made him into what we know and love today.
yeah.
And thank God for that.
Oh, yeah.
Batman is my favorite superhero. He always has been. I love Marvel stuff, but
This is ridiculous. Yeah, I agree.
it's
I mean,
Batman for me, man.
There is no more iconic superhero than Batman.
No, of course not.
There isn't. Period.
Yep. And to me, see, what I like about Batman is, of course, being just a human with no powers.
A regular dude.
The only power he has is, as Ben Affleck's Batman says, I'm rich.
Yeah, he does say that.
That's it. But he also, you know, I mean, he's incredibly intelligent. He's a world-renowned fighter. He's all of those things, but he does all those things.
Depending on the iteration, which we'll get to.
Yeah, which we'll get to. But he does all those things just, you know, spirit of will. He's, you know, he decides to be that and then becomes that.
Yeah.
Which is just really cool. It's a remarkable thing. I really love Batman due to that and one other reason, and that is his rogues gallery. Batman, in my opinion, has the largest list of villains, the quality villains, I should say, of any other superhero. I think he just has the greatest villains.
I'll agree to the largest list, yeah. Quality, that's a debate we could have another day in another video.
There's some stinkers in there, okay? Yeah. There are definitely those. Calendar Man is not making anyone scared for anything.
you could do a draft of Batman's top 10 villains or Spider-Man's top 10 villains, and that'd be quite the conversation.
It would be a heck of a conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's an episode. Let us know. Would you like to see that? We'd like to do it.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, you look at it and you got the Joker, of course, is the one that comes to everybody's mind as his biggest villain.
Sure.
But Catwoman, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze,
The Penguin,
the Penguin, the Riddler. There are so many great, detailed
brother. Yeah,
there's a bunch.
Yeah.
You go into the newer ones like Harley Quinn or Ra's al Ghul only came about in the 70s, and
for Batman that's newer.
It is, and that's the funny thing in 1970s, and it's a newer
Ra's al
villain.
Ghul's still older than me.
Yeah, me too. But for me, it's the Rogues Gallery. How he has to deal with each different villain. With a lot of superheroes, what you get is a similarly powered villain versus the similarly powered superhero.
Yeah,
see that a lot in Iron Man specifically. Everybody's got an arc reactor and does something with it. But with Batman, he has very different villains every single time, and I love that. I love seeing how he deals with each one of them.
Batman and DC in general, but specifically Batman. But Batman's kind of leading the charge of the company, and has really, I mean, Batman and Superman. Batman's really a film noir kind of character.
Oh, certainly,
and his villains reflect that. You know, whether they be the Joker or the Mafia, and the Joker gets involved in the Mafia. You know, however you want to look at that, it's very noir. It's very gritty. It's very pulp. So it's
absolutely,
you know, his Rogues Gallery reflects that
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So sit back, enjoy, grab yourself a drink and a snack. We're gonna dive right into Batman. Here we go. All right, so let's dive right into this. We're getting into, well, the first one we're gonna cover is the OG.
No, Batman. Pow,
pow, boom. Yeah. Bang! Yes, we're getting all that. Adam West, 1966, after a successful season of the cheesy as hell Batman show, got a full-length movie.
Yeah, and it's super cheesy.
It is super cheese.
Everything's labeled.
Yes.
There's a bat something for everything.
Yes. Shark repellent bat sprays.
Yeah, the anti-shark repellent bat spray. Yeah, that's a lovely one.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
Probably my favorite. You have Bat Wake for the bat gas, knockout gas. I mean, it's just...
There's everything.
It is the epitome of cheese.
I'm surprised Alfred doesn't have a label on his forehead that says Bat Butler.
What is the scheme, sir?
I mean...
You know, they probably made him one.
Probably.
They probably made him one. And it's just... I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But you look back at it now and you go, you know what? I think they knew they were being ridiculous.
Boy, they had to have. Were people in the 60s, I question... I mean, there was a lot of drugs.
Am I wrong?
In the 60s.
that there was.
Because
if
it's not making fun of itself knowingly so that everyone laughs...
Then it's sad.
Then there's really something weird going on. Because it is just pure cheese. I know we've said that a few times, but you watch it, and it's just... I think what they're doing, honestly, was... You know, Batman, I think, was a comic strip at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a comic book. right? You know, because a lot of times, I know with a lot of superheroes, they'd have the comic books, but they'd also have a comic strip.
Yeah, a weekly,
Right,
like in
the newspaper on the Sunday edition.
Sure.
And, you know, Batman in those old comic strips, it was the bam and the pow and all of that. And I think they were really making a live action comic strip.
Oh, without
is what they
doubt.
were doing. Is that was the goal, right? And it was for entertainment and for laughs. And when you watch it now, I laughed out loud.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's just preposterous.
It's a hilarious and entertaining movie. It really is an entertaining movie. But it's preposterous. You're absolutely right. There's a segment of the movie, it's my absolute favorite sequence in the movie, is Batman is running around with a giant bomb, like you see in the cartoons. Like, seriously, a bomb with a fuse on top.
And the fuse just never goes. I mean, he's got it forever.
He's got it forever. And he's running around, he's trying to get rid of it, and he keeps running into situations where he just can't get rid of the bomb.
When he runs into the same people multiple times.
Right.
Lady with a stroller, none. You know, there's like...
the marching band.
Yeah. And he just keeps running around. It's just ridiculous.
And then the iconic line, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Right. Right. You know, and you got the other thing that made me laugh too is like, just because of the situation, you have them all on the Penguin, the Riddler, the Joker, and Catwoman all working together.
Yes.
And they're on, you know, what looks like a model U-boat when they do the special effects on the Penguin's U-boat. And I'm sure they did a U-boat on purpose, right, in the 60s, post-World War II.
Certainly.
You know, they're going to still have that really strong, you know, Nazi, the world enemy image. So you make the Penguin ship, it's a U-boat that you paint it like the Penguin's colors. It's got penguins on it.
Because that's inconspicuous.
Right, 100%. Right. Yeah, a penguin colored and themed submarine going around in the ocean. Yeah, that's inconspicuous.
With a periscope that's a penguin head.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Like, it's just ridiculousness.
And they're on this boat
is.
marching around and doing their thing, and the Penguin is just... Everyone's overacted, right? Burgess Meredith as the Penguin.
Without a doubt.
You know, is all overacting. Cesar Romero with his just ridiculous, over-the-top laughing.
Yeah.
And his wonderful mustache painted white.
Yeah, the first time DC tried and failed to cover up a mustache.
And then they did it again with Superman and Henry Cavill.
Not
Henry Cavill, Brandon Roth. Or was it Henry Cavill?
No, it was Cable. Yeah, it was Cable. Yep.
So why? Yeah. But anyway, and then you have the Catwoman.
Yeah.
Which the thing that always makes me laugh, especially about the Adam West Batman, is like when Lee Merriweather is Catwoman and when she's her alter ego. I mean, she's just got a mask.
Sure.
How do you don't know that you know?
You really couldn't figure that out?
You couldn't tell? And then Adam West doesn't change his voice at all.
No, not even remotely
So how do you not
close.
know that that's Bruce Wayne?
Vexes me. I'm terribly vexed.
It's even, you know, the other villains that don't hide their faces. The Riddler, Frank Gorshin's Riddler, who is
a little mask,
who's great, had a mask.
Yeah.
Even the Joker
has a mask.
That he puts. Why?
Our joke's on you.
He's got his face painted.
Yeah, it's really clear who you are, dude.
Exactly. You didn't hide your identity at all. Dude, you're the Joker. We know.
I think the most stark difference, besides the cheesy nature of it, which we've said extensively, between this and the other iterations to follow, is that in this one, Batman is just like a known entity, loved by the authorities. You know, he goes and hangs out with the mayor and the police and the international. He's
duly deputized.
Yeah. He's got his own chopper at the place with the police at the police station.
Oh yeah, and they get it ready for him. He calls on the bat phone to prep the bat copter.
Prepare bat copter for immediate takeoff.
Right. So it's just like this whole thing of, we got to have Batman help us. Where in the other ones he's a vigilante, right? He morphed into the vigilante version of Batman.
Sure.
For all the other iterations that we're going to talk about.
Right.
But this one is not that way at all.
No, he's a fully functioning arm of the police force.
Yeah.
And
International,
even
Interpol.
further,
and, you know.
the entire world leaders look to him to fix a crisis.
Yeah.
And it really is a different take on that for sure. But you mentioned, having the Batcopter, the Bat Cycle, the Batmobile, the Bat boat. I mean, there's absolutely everything. It was like somebody wrote them a big check with nothing in it, a big blank check.
I don't have any checks to give.
Well, that guy got one, right? Give me one of them big ones. I don't care.
And they said, all right, make the cheesiest movie you can.
Yeah,
and they
sure.
did. They got every prop they could. Every, he's got a fast boat. He's got a nice boat.
Well, yeah, and then the 60s special effects where they're clearly just in a buck somewhere in a studio.
Yeah,
moving
exactly.
around, and you have a film of waves in the background.
There's somebody with a bucket of water splashing them,
Just, oh my goodness gracious.
It's hysterical. It's a classic. In my opinion, it's a classic. I love watching the old Batman movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it more than I thought I would. I mean, of course, when I was a kid, I watched
Oh,
it.
it's
When
the
I was
best
a kid,
thing in the world.
I'd come home
Yeah.
from school, and that's an important point I want to make too. Is that this iteration of Batman, for most people, my age, Phil's age, probably up to 30 or so, this is your first introduction to Batman.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You come home from school. For me, back in the day, it was on Channel 50.
Mm-hmm.
Batman was on for 2 hours, like 4 to 6 or something,
Yeah.
or 3 to 5, whatever it was. And you come home from school and you watch Batman for a couple hours. They're half-hour episodes.
Sure.
And they're ridiculous, but they're fun.
They're fun.
And even then, as a kid, I knew they were ridiculous, but they were fun, and I couldn't get enough.
You're right, exactly.
Right, and then the movie comes, you watch this movie. I mean, it was all released and had been released for years and years and years when I started watching it.
Yeah.
But it was my first introduction beyond the comic book, right? Even probably, actually, I think I watched Adam West Batman before I read the comic book, frankly.
I definitely did. Yeah.
So for all of us, Gen Xers and most of the millennials, Adam West was your first Batman. Baby boomers for sure.
Oh,
Adam
yeah.
West was your first Batman.
Fuck, you're old.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
Exactly. And, he brought the cheesiness to the role, but he also brought a gravitas. I mean, he's good at it.
He was good as Batman.
He's good as
He
Bruce
could have done
Wayne.
it seriously if they wanted to do that kind of a show.
Without a doubt, he absolutely could have. And we can't leave the 1966 Batman movie without using my favorite quote from it. Amazingly enough, as we're filming, it came up in my Facebook memories because I posted it 3 years ago today. But it says, "Of what use is a dream if not a blueprint for courageous action?"
That's a good quote.
It's a great quote, and it comes from one of the cheesiest movies of all time, but it's delivered by Adam West in such a great way that it actually struck me. I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool.
And it's really the only occurrence that we'll talk about today that has a reasonable, functional, good Robin.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Batman in this occurrence, and then when they showed Batman in this show, it was Batman and Robin.
Yep.
There was no Batman without Robin. There wasn't how Batman started as a kid and all that. It was Batman and Robin.
Sure.
And he had, him and Dick Grayson, played by Burt Ward.
Yes.
Went and, fought crime together, and he was the perfect foil to Batman, delivered all the cheesy lines with zest and zeal. Holy whatever
insert
Batman.
Yeah. Or holy insert whatever Batman.
Yeah.
Holy Captain Nemo. Holy bikini. Holy almost.
And it's, oh my goodness, that is sprinkled throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
He does it several times.
Holy bat crab cakes, Batman, whatever.
Yeah, it can be anything.
Whatever you want to think of, Burt Ward would deliver that line.
Yes.
And, they were the dynamic duo, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the iteration, really the only iteration of the modern Batman on film that you have the dynamic duo.
Right.
And it was, when I was a kid, you always talked about Batman. Part of the dynamic duo was always a phraseology that went with it.
Sure.
And it's not so much now. It morphed into, as we'll talk about further on, the Dark Knight.
Yes, exactly. Where he's more of a solo crime fighter. But that's a great addition. I mean, Burt Ward's Dick Grayson is... He was capable. Sure, he played the foil very often throughout that, but he was a capable crime fighter and a smart kid, and it was good to have him along.
He was an integral part, and it just added to the cheese fest.
Absolutely. So you know what? Let's move on from the cheese fest and get into something else, shall we?
Let's do it. All right. So we kind of fibbed. We said we were going to jump out of the cheese. We're actually going to stay in it for a minute longer because now we're going to talk about Batman 1989.
Yes.
Or Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, and so what really struck me, we went back and rewatched all of this stuff, and what really struck us was, you know, we both really, really enjoyed this movie and remembered it differently than it actually is.
Oh my God, yeah. As a kid, I loved this Batman movie. I saw it in the theater 3 times. My mom bought it for me on VHS. I mean, that's how young I was when it came out. My mom bought it for me on VHS.
I had it on VHS too.
When it released, and I watched it at home all the time. And I went on and on and on about how dark and gothic it was and all this stuff. And then we watch it again, and I'm like, this is horrible.
It's dark because Tim Burton doesn't know how to set his ISO.
Yeah, maybe.
That's about it.
Rewatching it, I was really disappointed in the movie itself. I remember being so much better. I liked it so much more as a kid than I liked it when I watched it again.
I agree entirely. Now, that's not to say it doesn't have its merits. There are things within it that
Jack
are
Nicholson
good.
is really good as the Joker.
He is. He's a really good Joker.
Does a great job.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
And Michael Keaton is a good Batman.
What are you? I'm Batman.
Largely, but he's
a better Bruce Wayne, I think.
He was hindered by that suit. I mean,
certainly.
You watch these scenes, right, and we'll talk about it more in the next Batman, right? But the Batman after are much more athletic. I'll put it that way, and we'll get to that.
Sure.
But this Batman, he's just like,
well, he's stuck. He can't move. In order to move his head, he's got to move his whole body. And
it's almost like I had to put it akin to the bad guys are running away from him, and he's like Jason Voorhees. Just kind of walking, and he eventually just gets him no matter what.
The slow walk, yeah.
Even though he takes forever, he's not athletic at all. I'm like, really?
Sure.
What the heck is going on?
And it is that same level of cheese as the Adam West Batman too.
Yeah.
It's just a little more subtle.
Well, Tim Burton cheese is much more artful.
Yeah, right? Sure. And that's about it.
You know, and I think the thing that I found about this movie that I didn't really get as a kid, I didn't understand as a kid, because, you know, as a kid, typically, at least me, I wasn't as, like, you know, today we're much more discerning and film critical. And
oh, sure.
You know, I've seen a lot more movies. You know, and I had seen Beetlejuice.
Nobody says the B word.
Before this movie came out in the theater. Mm-hmm. But watching, I mean, there's a lot of Beetlejuice-esque music in this movie.
Well, there's a really good reason for that, Chuck.
Well, Tim Burton and Michael Keaton.
Yeah, well, there's
and
that.
And the composer is probably the same.
The composer's the same guy. It's Danny Elfman. Yeah.
And there's even a line that Michael Keaton delivers that sounds just like he's Beetlejuice.
He does.
And you know, and watching it, again, like I said, it's... I made this comment, the film we're watching it, watching it now feels more like a Tim Burton movie than a Batman movie.
Oh, without a doubt. It does.
At the time as a kid, I didn't get that at all.
Batman is so cool.
And you get the Batman movie, you had all the Prince music on the radio.
I'll tell you what, we were talking about having the VHS tape. I got that beat. Yep. I had Bat Dance on a cassette single.
So did I.
So cool. It came in a little black sleeve with that logo on it. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah, I mean, you had all the Prince did that soundtrack, and those were top hits on the radio.
They were huge.
It was a huge celebration. It was a huge success. I mean, that movie was wildly successful.
It really was.
But watching it critically, you know, 30 years later.
Well, there's no plot.
No, it doesn't have a plot at all. None. Zero.
There's none. There isn't a plot.
Hated it.
And it was just like...
There's no reason for the Batman to fight Joker.
No.
There isn't one.
No. It's just like... and I remember, too, it must have the Mandela effect, but I remember where does he get those wonderful toys as being so much more dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of just like, where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah. No, it's a throwaway line.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's actually cut off.
Yeah.
They cut off the end of it. Like
it was a revelation.
Yeah.
Really, because I had this memory of it being this great, you know, and you argue about Keaton maybe being the best Batman, and then watching it again, I'm kind of like,
probably not.
Negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
No, it's not.
Now, Batman Returns was better.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about origin stories.
Yeah.
And actually, this is the first time that we saw his actual origin story on film.
For sure.
And what they did was completely jacked it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was terrible. Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. What it did is it put Joker in the role of Joe Chill, who's the one who actually killed his parents in the comic books. And it's just for the convenience of saying, well, you know, this is your enemy because he killed your parents.
Yeah. Yeah, they made him, you know, you killed daddy.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah,
it's a cop-out almost, you know?
Yeah, it's not, and it's, again, it's the Batmobile's really cool. I mean, I remember the Batmobile.
Hell yes.
The first time you see that Batmobile, you're like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so the Burton styling's all over this movie.
Oh, sure.
You know, from the backgrounds. But again, you know, the backgrounds are more like the old school set design backgrounds. Like,
sure.
Look more like giant paintings.
Big canvas paintings, yeah.
Yeah, than
That's
they
what
are
they look like.
of actual CGI, because CGI wasn't as advanced. Burton is famous for stop motion animation for his CGI.
Well, and the armor on the Batmobile is
it
stop
looks
motion.
Like, it looks like, you know, I almost thought Beetlejuice was going to pop up.
That's it.
When that armor went on.
It looks really, really, really Burton.
I'm the bat with a moose, baby. I mean, it was that kind of feeling throughout the, you know, the movie. Batman.
Oh, the Batman.
You know.
Yeah. Totally. 100%.
Yeah, but Nicholson did a great job as the Joker.
He did.
You know, he delivers the lines well. He's doing the laughing crazy. I mean, for other roles, you'll see Jack Nicholson, and he, you know, aside from The Shining, he's not really ever like that.
No. I mean, he did a really good job portraying the Joker.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is, in my opinion, he's doing an impression of Cesar Romero.
Kinda. That you can absolutely make that connection, because he does that same kind of the head movement that Cesar Romero did when he laughed.
Sure.
As the Joker.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's, of course, a little more menacing.
Oh, yeah. Cesar Romero wasn't scary at all as the Joker.
Not at all. He was a clown.
You know, Nicholson is much more menacing, much scarier foe.
Sure.
You know, except for when he takes the 14-foot gun out of his pants. That's just kind of ridiculous.
It's cheese, and it's funny. It
is. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he shoots down the Batwing.
Yes, with one big shot. Like, it's just...
But again, as a kid, when I saw the Batwing go up over the moon, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, super cool. And as an adult, we're watching this, and I go, well, why did he do that? He didn't need to go up there and do that. Yeah, and who's going to see that? From what angle are you going to see that? One angle.
Nobody.
That's it. Yeah,
it's just style is showing the bat over the moon, and it's the bat signal. You know, I mean, it's just Burton being Burton.
Right.
Which is, again, why, to me, it's more of a Burton movie than it is more than a Batman movie.
I completely agree. There's other stuff in there, but really, I think we nailed the bones of it.
Yeah, I mean, first Harvey Dent never got to be Two-Face, and then Billy D. Williams.
So sad.
You know,
sad.
Yeah, it's a different kind of, and it again, like we talked about in the last segment, it's the first time now Batman is a vigilante in this one.
Sure.
Right.
That is true. Yeah, he's actually hunted.
It's not as hardcore as than in the next two progressions. Right.
Oh, without a doubt.
Or at least the next progression. I'll say that. But in this one, he's kind of, but it's like a halfway theme between this and the next version of Batman. This one is really like a halfway between the Adam West version and the next version, because it's still cheesy, but it's more serious. He's a vigilante. He's, you know, trying to be more gravitas like the Dark Knight, you know, would be in the comic books, but he's not really. Sure. But he's getting there. I mean, Michael Keaton is.
Yeah.
You know, as
it's
Batman.
Cheese, but it's darker humor too.
Yeah.
So it is taking that step towards that.
It takes that next step.
Yeah. Whereas we don't see a whole heck of a lot of humor in the next one.
No, or the next two. Not a lot of funny.
But we'll get to that in just a second. Stay tuned. Welcome back.
I'm Batman.
So obviously, we're getting right into Bale's Batman, or Nolan's Batman.
Nolan's Batman, played by Christian Bale.
Yes.
It's, as we talked about in the previous two of the progression, this is when they really start to get to the Dark Knight-esque characters. I mean, the second movie in this series is called The Dark Knight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not full-on Dark Knight. I would argue that, and when I say Dark Knight, I'm talking about Frank Miller's Dark Knight, which was a limited series that Frank Miller did, a graphic novels, which you can watch the cartoon, actually, the cartoon adaptation. We'll do an episode on that at another time.
Oh, yes.
The cartoon adaptation of The Dark Knight is excellent. It's very close to the graphic novels. Oh, yeah. And the graphic novels came out, and they really chronicle an older Batman fighting Superman, killing the Joker, all kinds of stuff like that.
Sure.
Which, again, we'll talk about in the next iteration. But with this one, they start to get more into that Dark Knight feel. He takes on more characteristics of the Dark Knight.
Oh, certainly. And working alone, too. He's a lone vigilante.
Total vigilante.
Completely outside of the police force, well, at first.
Until he makes friends with Gordon.
But even then, he's still seen as a vigilante. They're still ordered to arrest him on sight.
Yeah.
And again, we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves because that's not mentioned until the Dark Knight movie.
Right.
But with Batman Begins, what we really see is Batman's journey or Bruce Wayne's journey to becoming Batman.
So this Batman, once again, shows an origin story. And this time it's very similar, again, to what we saw in the previous iteration of Batman, but it's a little bit closer.
Closer to the comic book, especially in the fact that it's Joe Chill that actually does the killing this go around. But it's the same thing. They leave a theater. They're walking through Crime Alley.
And I always wonder, why is Bruce Wayne's family, why is Thomas Wayne and his wife walking through an alley like that?
Why? Specifically one named Crime Alley. Yeah. It is named Crime Alley. There's no reason for that.
It's unnecessary.
They got Alfred. They got Michael Caine.
That is true.
Yeah. Well, why do they need to do that?
Come pick him up at the front door.
For sure.
Then again, we don't have Batman.
That is also true.
But it does show a lot more of what made Bruce Wayne Batman. It's not just having his parents killed. It's, falling down the well.
Being
and
afraid of the bats.
Being afraid of the bats.
Conquering your fears.
Which brings us to the really great part of this particular movie, Batman Begins, are the villains that work together, in my opinion. Seeing Scarecrow, Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow. Oh man,
he did so good as Scarecrow.
He's so good.
He's excellent as Scarecrow.
Absolutely.
And the other villain,
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul, yeah.
Who, you don't have in the original iteration. Obviously, you're not going to have him in Adam West because he wasn't created till after that Batman came out.
Correct, yeah. 1971 was Ra's al Ghul.
And then he's not in the 1989 Batman because this doesn't fit the scope of the kind of Batman that Burton was doing.
Right.
But in this one, you have Ra's al Ghul. And the thing that I love about that is this Batman is so much more athletic. He's a ninja.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he's so much more athletic than the other Batmen.
Certainly.
His predecessors. And watching his fight scenes,
it's awesome.
100 times better.
They're so much better.
And this movie is so much better than the previous two.
Well, and Bale did actually have a similar problem with that, with it not being able to move his neck as well. But I mean, a heck of a lot better than Keaton.
I'm sure he just, screamed at some assistant director and they fixed it.
It's entirely possible.
Probably.
But it's actually written into the second movie.
Yeah.
You say, you want to be able to turn your head. Well, yeah.
Okay, we're not even going to get into that part of this. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. We'll talk about that another day.
But that's later on.
Yeah, but you're right, and there's more flexibility in the suit. Of course, technology advances from 1989 to 2005 when these two movies came out, without a doubt.
Yeah, but
it's also it's very evident on the screen, and it makes for a better film. And then it's filmed by Christopher Nolan, who's a great filmmaker. He
really is.
Everything he makes is good. There's not really a stinker amongst his movies. And he's got a particular style. He's got a great vision. The way he lends his movies, I really love.
Sure.
He's got a specific color tone. He's got different camera movements, and it's gritty. But it's not so noir, but it's gritty.
Yeah.
But it's also action, and he's great at that. And
he really
it's
is.
really a perfect formula for Batman.
It is. And, one thing that really set this apart for me as well is the fact that Batman is so much more grounded within that series of movies. With, the Adam West and the Keaton, you've got the total camp, and it's just cheesy, and it's just, there's stuff that, Michael Keaton's Batman scratches a CD, you know what I'm saying?
In the second movie, yeah.
Yeah. It's just total cheese.
Yeah.
But with Nolan's Batman, Christian Bale playing him, it's a much more grounded, down-to-earth, serious iteration.
Super serious, yeah.
That you can see, realistically how we would get there. Now, that's not to say there aren't things that are unrealistic about it, but there's a lot.
Much less.
Yeah, much less.
And, Bale is that kind of, I think it's method actor, you would call it.
Sure, yeah.
Where he really gets into the character and he takes it very seriously. He's an ultra serious actor when he's in his craft.
Why so serious?
I mean, he's the kind of guy who's lost, 80 pounds for a role, or put on weight for a role, really gets into it. And he brings that approach to Batman, and he plays him with the gravitas, and he's really does a great job. My only beef, and we said in the beginning, it's like he's got to go to the bathroom with the voice alteration, and I wish they did improve upon that in the next iteration, which we'll talk about next.
Yes, they did.
But I wish that if he...
I think it just wasn't really stated within the Nolan.
But if he would have had that, but you can even when he zooms in on him, you see his lips.
Yeah, he's doing that physically.
If he didn't have that, he might be the perfect Batman.
Sure. And in the first movie, in Batman Begins, it's not as pronounced. It's not the same thing.
In the next one, it really gets bad.
You can tell he's altering his voice, but he's not doing the.
And his lips are.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks more realistic.
Yeah.
It looks. Batman Begins is just a great movie. It really is.
It's really very good.
It's fun to watch. As you mentioned, there's a lot of action involved in it, and the fight scenes are great. The action scenes with the tumbler are great. I mean, there's
Liam Neeson's perfect as Ra's al Ghul.
He's so good as Ra's al Ghul, and Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow.
Yeah,
just so good, so haunting, especially Scarecrow's performance.
It's a very well done film, and you have the mobster part involved, which then carries on into the second movie. It's really well done, and it's a really good movie. Still stands up today.
Yeah, it really does.
I hadn't seen it in a while when we rewatched it to do this.
Sure.
And I liked it. I remember I liked it just as much as I liked it when I saw it in the theater, and I saw it when I owned it on video the first time.
Me too. And I'll tell you, when we watched the Adam West Batman, when we watched the Keaton Batman, I was like, all right, so let's move on to the next Batman. And when we watched the Bale Batman Begins, I went, oh man, I really want to watch The Dark Knight now.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. But that's also because, The Dark Knight is easily the best Batman movie, as we said earlier, the best Batman movie ever made, and it's a top 5 comic book movie.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, and we'll talk about The Dark Knight another day.
Have all these rules.
Probably do an episode on The Dark Knight.
Yeah, it might be its own thing,
just for
frankly.
Ledger's performance.
Sure.
So of course that helps. That's going to help, though, this Batman is you think of his 2 main villains, 3, Cillian Murphy, Heath Ledger, and Tom Hardy as Bane.
Yeah.
Outside of a couple instances, are the best in any of the Batman movies.
They really are. And what I mentioned earlier with Batman's Rogues Gallery being what really, really sets him apart as a superhero, these are the best iterations that we've seen of any of these. And
for sure.
It really just elevates it to the next level. That's a great point. It really is.
It really helps this Batman be the best that he can be, because,
sure.
As Ledger famously says, is the Joker in The Dark Knight. I know we're just going to talk about it a lot, but I think that's a salient point we should make.
Sure.
They're reflections of one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he's that good, that makes Batman that much better as a character.
It really is. And I mean, you know, it's been said, Bale is a great Batman. He could have been the perfect Batman without the grumbly stuff. But they're really just awesome movies.
They are. They're very good. All three of those.
And Batman Begins is what started off. I wasn't going to see Batman Begins. Can you believe that?
No, you love Batman.
I love Batman, and I'm like, whatever. There wasn't a lot of hype to it. It wasn't it wasn't something it wasn't on my radar. In 2005, when it came out, it wasn't on my radar.
I was excited for it when it came out. I really wanted to go see it. Me and one of my buddies went and saw it in the theater, and it was really good. I was geeked for it.
My dad gave me I swear to me, he gave me a bootleg DVD of it. A burnt bootleg DVD of it. And that was enough. It hooked me. I was like, man, this is Batman.
Of the three movies we've talked about so far, it's the superior movie by a lot.
Without a doubt. It really is.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get to the next one and wrap it up.
All right. So back with the fourth iteration of Batman.
Yes.
In the modern day of Batman on film, and we get Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder's Batman, a much maligned Batman, and a much ado about the Zack Snyderverse. We say restore the Snyderverse because it's the best stuff DC's ever done.
We do, yeah.
But I don't know that this is the best Batman, but I think he gets not enough credit because I think Affleck did a great job as Batman.
I completely agree. And we, it's kind of a hot take, but really we both enjoy Affleck's portrayal of Batman.
He's fantastic. I mean, he does a really great Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, in terms of the four that we've talked about, he's the best Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Without a doubt.
100%.
He's the most comic accurate looking Bruce Wayne. He's buff, man. He really got jacked for Batman.
He did, and they continue on in the Dark Knight themes, and he is the closest to the Frank Miller Dark Knight that we've seen.
Sure.
Especially in his flashbacks. Although that's not part of the Frank Miller comic book. It's the theme, the spirit of it is there. And in the whole thing, another interesting part about this Batman that I thought was different than that is different than the others, I just don't think it is, that he doesn't have his own movie.
No, he doesn't.
It's Batman versus Superman, and then he's in Justice League.
Which is kind of a travesty because, I mean, he deserves his own movie, and he was supposed to have one. This upcoming Robert Pattinson
was supposed to be Ben Affleck.
Affleck, and I, for one, would have loved to seen it.
Me too, but again, I think he was much maligned, and then Ben Affleck decided to not be Batman anymore. I don't think he was necessarily fired.
Yeah, frankly, I think he was the one that wrote the script.
It might be, because, people should know Ben Affleck's a writer. I mean, him and Matt Damon wrote Good Will Hunting famously.
How do you like them apples?
Right, exactly.
And he does, I also think that the bat suit in this is the coolest Batman suit.
It looks cool. I mean, it looks kind of beat up.
It gives the Batman Year One vibes, although he's a little too old for that. But it really gives the Frank Miller Batman. And in the Frank Miller Batman, is aged, and he's really sick of Clark, and they've known each other for years. And he goes to kill Superman just to show him that he can, and he does. Yeah. Right, and he does kind of the same thing he could have in this movie.
Yeah.
And he stops in probably the cheesiest part of the movie.
Oh,
because, Martha, your mom's Martha, my mom's Martha.
Yeah,
do we just become best friends?
Yep.
Do you want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup.
I mean, that's really what it reminds me of at that point.
It really is the worst part of the movie.
It is.
But the rest of the movie it's good. The Batman vs. Superman is a decent movie.
It is.
It got panned crazy.
And we watched the Ultimate Edition, which is a half hour longer. Because, Zack Snyder's Ultimate movies can't ever be short. I really like Zack Snyder as a filmmaker,
can't ever be in 235-1.
Not the whole thing, no. It's got to have some 4x3 for IMAX. But
exactly.
We watched this one last night, and it's a good movie.
It is.
Zack Snyder as a filmmaker is very similar to Christopher Nolan and I know they're friends in real life, and I'm sure that's part of it.
Sure.
You know, they had communications between the different, you know, and
They've
I know
worked together, yeah.
At
Absolutely.
one time, Nolan there's, you know, rumor that he told Snyder don't watch Justice League, the original release, because they totally butchered his version.
They did.
Because I believe Nolan's even a producer on it.
That is correct.
You know, and Nolan and Snyder, like I said, have very similar styles as filmmakers, which I like both of their styles. It's just Nolan's film color is a little bit cooler than Snyder's.
Oh yeah, without
you
a
know,
doubt.
but they
We've
have
talked about that.
similar camera movements, but very similar styles. So it stands to reason that if you like the one, you'll like the other movie.
Sure.
But I don't know that it's. I don't know that I can say unequivocally that Affleck's the best Batman. It's between him and Bale for me, and I'm not really sure which.
Sure.
But this movie, as Phil said, just gets underrepresented, and it gets panned unduly, in my humble opinion.
It really does. And, you know, I think a lot of the reason for that is exactly what we just said. Batman never got his own establishing movie within this franchise.
He did
and
not.
As a result, we don't know him really. The only thing we got out of this was the same origin story that we've seen 1,000 times, but with a different twist.
And Warner butchered the Snyderverse, and this is a victim of that.
Sure, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You know, Snyder made The Man of Steel. Snyder made Batman vs Superman. Snyderman.
Yeah, I know it's me. Who are you?
Snyder made.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be really weird. Snyder made Justice League.
Yeah.
So, you know, and he never got a chance to really finish the story that he was telling, which should have happened. And Batman's a casualty of that.
Yeah, certainly.
The Affleck Batman, Batfleck is
Batfleck, yeah.
You know, he's a casualty of that, of whatever happened between Warner Brothers and Snyder.
Yeah, and it's terrible. You know, we're the ones that they get to suffer from that
because he's so stylistic. You know, we got to see Bale. We got to see Nolan's full vision in his 3 movies.
Yeah.
You know, and he got the opportunity to complete what he wanted to complete.
Well, with one notable exception, of course, The Dark Knight Rises was supposed to feature the Joker heavily.
He couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it would have been much improved. I mean, it's a really great movie till the end. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, but we're getting to that. We'll get to that
Snyder never got a chance to really show us his vision. And he's a director that needs to be able to do his thing.
Well, and we saw that, right? I mean, when we saw the Snyder cut of the Justice League,
it's so good.
It's so good. It's a 4-hour movie that leaves you wanting more.
I wanted to watch it again. I wanted to watch a sequel.
Yeah.
It's an Avengers level movie, and DC
really
should
is.
have learned when they released that, and it got that kind of praise that maybe we should rethink this and bring it back, maybe just a little bit.
You would think,
but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes this Batman suffer. We don't really get to know this Batman as well as the previous 3 versions.
No, even though we do see, you know, his parents being killed.
And they're famously, for you Walking Dead fans.
Yeah.
It's Negan and Maggie, which is hilarious, are Bruce Wayne's parents, because if you watch The Walking Dead, Negan famously kills Maggie's husband in front of her, and she hates him in the show.
Sure.
And here they are, you know, married. It's hilarious.
Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Yeah.
And that is great. But, you know, stylistically, it's done really, really well. With the gun that breaks the string of pearls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice looking thing that, okay, so we've seen it a billion times with, you know, Bruce Wayne's parents being killed.
Yeah.
And the string of pearls and everything else, and then Thomas Wayne turning to him and saying something inspirational.
Sure.
But it's done in a nice way.
It is.
It's not done... I don't know. It's not overly heavy-handed.
It's not heavy-handed. It's stylistic. It's well done. The only problem that he suffers from is we've seen it so many times.
Exactly.
You know, that was one thing that I was glad with, you know, just as an aside real quick, with the new Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, they didn't focus on the origin again and again because they've done it so many times.
What are you doing? Oh, this is nice.
Sure.
Batman needs to learn that lesson.
Well, to the point that there was no Uncle Ben.
Right.
Yeah.
So Batman needs to learn that lesson. I'm hoping in the new one that we just jump in and he's Batman.
Sure.
And it's not a origin story and all of this.
That would be great.
Stuff.
We really, really don't need to see it again, guys.
Yeah.
Really don't.
But we're really looking forward to it, which is why we made this video.
Absolutely.
Of Pattinson's Batman, and it'll be interesting to see how does Pattinson's because Pattinson's Batman to me, and we talked about this a little bit, really looks like it's taking the most from Affleck's Batman.
Sure. Yeah. I'd agree. Maybe it's an earlier version of Affleck's Batman.
It could be, and I can't wait to see it. I know people don't want to give him a chance because, he was in Twilight or whatever.
Yeah.
But it
was
looks
sparkly.
It looks really good. It
does.
Very gritty, dark. It looks like Batman's supposed to look. So I, for one, am going to give it a chance, and we'll see it opening day probably.
Oh, without a doubt. We're definitely going to see it. And everything I've seen in the trailers makes me believe that it's going to be a great movie. I really feel that way. I don't like Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. I can tell you that already because I just don't like
we'll
his
see how he
look.
does.
But it's a more modern look. It makes sense
We'll see how he
as to
does.
what he would look like. We'll see how he does. As Batman, he looks like a badass.
We'll see how he does.
Awesome.
I'll harken back to I thought Heath Ledger was going to look ridiculous as the Joker.
And, well, there you go.
He's the best Joker. He's ridiculous. He is the definitive Joker.
He is. Yeah.
So what are you going to do? So we'll give it a chance. But, overall, we have 4 iterations on Batman on film. I think they really got better as they went.
I agree.
I think aggregately Nolan's Batman series is the best series.
It is, but it's also the one we spent the most time in.
It is the one we spent the most time in, and Snyder's Batman didn't get a fair shake.
Agreed.
I think he compares favorably to Nolan's Batman.
I agree entirely.
But he didn't get a fair shake. He didn't get, and like we said in the last segment, really Nolan's villains put that Batman over the top.
Certainly does. And
in my opinion,
Ben Affleck's Batman doesn't get that.
No, he has no villains.
He deals with Lex Luthor.
He fights Superman's villains.
Yeah. Which is, that's... Yeah.
And Wonder Woman's villains. He doesn't fight his own villains.
I've killed things from other worlds before.
She with you? I thought she was with you.
Right. That's
the only
silly.
mention you have
It's
of the
silly.
Joker in that really is the spray paint on his suit and
on Robin's suit.
And the brief appearance of frickin' Batman and the Suicide Squad and Jared Leto.
Yeah.
That's
we don't
all
talk about that.
Are you sweet talking me?
We don't talk about that.
That's all you get.
Yeah, that is not the Joker. Ugh.
Anyway.
Sorry, I just got a shudder.
It's so intense.
That's just awful stuff. The one thing I do want to mention about Ben Affleck's Batman before we move past that is that this is a very, very different Batman that we've seen in the fact that he uses guns.
Yeah.
And kills.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. He gives 0 Fs.
Yeah, absolutely. But it makes for some amazing scenes as we're watching it last night where Batman goes in to save Martha Kent. It's such a cool scene. You see Batman kicking wholesale ass.
And there are a couple, actually, with Bale's Batman, there's very few laughs. There's a little more in this one. I mean, when he's like, I'm a friend of your son. And she's like,
I got that from the Cape.
I figured from the Cape. And then the other, when Doomsday is coming at him, and he's like, oh, shit.
Right. It's so good.
But,
and the other thing we didn't talk about is with Bale, we saw him physically changing his voice, but this is addressed in Ben Affleck's
He's got
Batman.
a voice changer in his suit.
In his suit, and it makes a lot of sense.
You see Alfred testing it out.
Yeah.
So it's, it makes a lot of sense, and it's much better, and Affleck doesn't have to do the
right, but
face.
Still has that gravelly thing.
But still has the gravity voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds good. Frankly, we've said it a bunch of times. Ben Affleck's Batman didn't get a fair shake.
No, because he's really good.
He is. He's really
good. He might
good.
be my favorite. I still am undecided.
And Ben Affleck is famously a nerd. Like, he enjoys that. So he took the role of Batman because he loves Batman.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Great.
That part when Snyder did the casting, at least for the 2 main guys, Cavill's a nerd too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he picked guys that are in love with the subject matter before they even play the role.
And that's really what it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is what it should be. Well, you know what? We've talked enough about Batman for now. We're going to talk a heck of a lot more about it. There's just no way to do Batman in an hour-long episode.
It's been around
or whatever
since
it's going to be.
1939, no.
Exactly. There's way too much to get to. We're going to get to the animated series. We're going to get to the animated movies. We're going to get to the additional movies that we didn't talk about today. We're going to get to all of that stuff, just not today. We're talking Batman Origins. That's all.
Not today.
Exactly. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and we would like to remind you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. We are out there, and share us with all your nerd friends so they can join in the party as well. Let us know what you think. Tell us who your favorite Batman is in the comments, and we just want to know. We definitely want to know. With that, we will say, what's on your nerd card?